Okay, hello everyone. So today I am going to be sewing up the yo-yo top, which is a pattern that I've had for a little while, and it is a great kind of transitional pattern in my opinion because I love to layer it. So in summer I'll just wear it on its own, but then I'll pop it over a turtleneck like what I'm wearing today in winter, and it does allow itself to be made in a few different types of fabrics. So I'll be making a winter version since it's winter here. So I'll be using like a tweed fabric. It's a nice mid-weight fabric, but you can also use things like linen or cottons. I've even made a dress out of this pattern by lengthening it in a rayon, which just kind of gives a lot more of a softer drape. So it is sort of flexible with the type of fabric you can use. You could even use something like a jacquard if you really want it to hold its shape as well. And yeah, so I'm gonna get started showing you how to make it, but first I will show you all the ones I've made before, just to kind of give you an idea of what you can create with this. So this is one of the patterns that I have now resized, so it's across 8 different sizes, and this pattern doesn't just come with the top, it also comes with a skirt, which I will make hopefully next week if I get time, and I'll show you making that skirt. And I kind of feel like they're a good pairing because to me this one is a little bit more like work appropriate. I feel like it would look nice, you know, in a corporate setting with a nice little skirt with it. So yeah, I will show you what I've got. So I'll start off with a few of the hacks actually. So I made this rayon dress with a ruffle at the bottom. Pretty much the only thing I did for difference was cut it quite a bit longer. I cut it to be about 1 meter long. I wanted a nice like midi length dress, and then I cut a couple of rectangles to make the ruffles on the bottom. I also put some pockets in because I love adding pockets to dresses. And yeah, it's really nice, easygoing summer dress. Probably a bit light to layer this one just because it is rayon. Then I made a dress out of a cotton linen. So this is probably more of a light to mid-weight cotton. So it holds its shape well. Again, I added pockets to this and I did lengthen the bodice to make it that dress length. But I didn't lengthen it quite as much as the green one because I still wanted a nice short kind of 60s vibe summer dress. This one I feel like it is probably a little bit lightweight, but on an autumn day I could see myself layering it with some boots and a turtleneck. Maybe not in winter, but definitely in autumn. Then I have another lovely linen. So this one is just the standard top pattern. This one I actually made little hole cutouts. Probably can't see it very well in the footage, but if you go to my Instagram, I did save this one to my story highlights on how I created the hole cutouts because I just made them where the whole print was on the fabric. This is the same kind of weight of linen cotton, so I really love this weight for this pattern because it sort of holds its shape well enough without sticking out too much. And this is one I actually would layer in winter as well, especially with those cutouts. You kind of get a little pop of whatever you're wearing underneath. And even though it's lighter because it's not a dress, I can wear it with like a nice wintry skirt or something. And then I've also got another one in linen. This one is 100% linen. It's a bit of a softer linen, but it's still a mid-weight linen. I've added a little trim across the chest. With a lot of my patterns, I like kind of creating this basic shape that you can then add to. You can either lengthen, add ruffles, or add trimmings. So I really like just adding this subtle lace across it. Just like a little bit of detail without making like a full lace top. Just adds a little extra something to it. The next one, which is going to be similar to the one I'm making today, I made out of this like boucle tweed fabric. It's very fuzzy because it's very well worn. I've worn this top so much in winter, just with turtleneck underneath because it's so easy to wear, even with jeans and stuff. I made this one a little bit more casual by having a frayed edge, which I'm going to do on the one I make today as well. But it's just a really easy throw over kind of top for winter, and I feel like I can dress it up or down as well. And this is pretty, I would definitely say it's medium weight fabric. It's definitely on the like thicker side, not heavyweight though, and I think this is like the ideal for this pattern. That's kind of what I drafted it for, but as you've seen, you can make it up in pretty much anything. So yeah, let's get straight into it, making up this yo-yo top. So In terms of cutting this out, it's pretty straightforward. It's 2 pieces for the top. You've got the front piece and the back piece. The front is cut on the fold, the back isn't. So usually what I do is pretty much just fold my fabric in half, and then I place the front on the fold like so, and then the back I would just place anywhere in this remaining space. It does make it nice and easy if you want to match up stripes and stuff as well, because you can kind of line them parallel. If you've got a different size, it might fit slightly differently on the fabric, or if your fabric's a different width as well. So I'm going to cut this out, and the fabric that I'm using is this really nice tweedy fabric. It feels like it's probably a cotton. It's probably got acrylic in there as well though. I cannot for the life of me remember where I got it from though. If I can remember, I'll put it in the link in bio, but otherwise you'll just have to admire it from far. I bought it that long ago anyway though, that it probably isn't available. But it's really nice open. This is kind of a fabric I like using for this type of top for winter, when I'm going to be layering it with a nice little turtleneck underneath or something, because it doesn't matter that it's a little bit more open weave, but it is still that nice medium weight. So yeah, I will cut this out now. Alright, so I've got the pieces with right sides facing each other, and what I'm going to do is stitch the 2 shoulder seams. So it's just a 1 centimeter seam. I'm going to stitch it and then overlock it to secure the ends, and that is the first step. Alright, so the shoulder is stitched and overlocked. I also overlocked the center back. This isn't necessary at this point. I did it just because this fabric is super prone to fraying, and as I'm moving it around a lot, it will likely fray. So I just wanted to secure that now, since that is going to be a seam that's pressed open anyway. I need to do the overlocking before doing the seam, so I figured I might as well just get that done now. But now moving on to the side seams, the exact same thing as the shoulder, stitch and then overlock, which will secure it nicely. Right, so the side seams are all sewn up. Now we're going to sew the back up, so we'll put them with the right sides together, and I'm just going to sew up until the notch, because we're going to need to keep that open to finish that edge, so that the neckline is big enough to get our head in. So yeah, I'm just going to stitch that up. Like I said, I already overlocked this, so if you have fabric that needs overlocking or a zigzag, or you want to finish it, I finish it now because we're going to be pressing it open, so you don't want this seam to be closed together. It'll just make it harder to finish the top. Next bit's probably the trickiest part of this pattern, so I will try to go through it slowly with a bit of detail, but if you do have another way you prefer to finish back, you can do it that way. The simplest way, if you don't want to do it with bias binding, is just to fold this over the 1 centimeter and just stitch it down. That's going to be the easiest way. It does still create a really nice flat look. I've done that a number of times before when I want something quick and easy, but I will show you how to do it with the bias binding, because that's how it's written in the instructions. So with the back neck, we're going to open it up flat. I'm trying to maneuver this, but also make sure it's pretty visible. With the bulk of the seam, you don't want this to be all bunched up, so make sure you've pressed your seam flat, and that it's sitting out of the way, so that where you go to stitch over here, there will be a little gap there. So I've got a strip of bias binding. So keeping in mind that this is 1 centimeter, and most likely your bias binding will have a 5mm fold. So I just place that 5mm from the edge. Hopefully that makes sense. Prince has come to help explain. And I'm just going to put that over the top and stitch all the way along, including over that little kind of V dip. So this edge of the bias binding should line up right where that V kind of starts. So you should just catch that fabric. So I'm going to stitch that all along there, and then once that's done, I'll fold it over. So I'll stitch it first and then show you what it looks like. All right, so that is all stitched down. So I'm going to cut away this extra kind of seam allowance so we don't need any more. And then what I will do is fold this on to the inside of the garment, and I'm just going to stitch it along the very edge of the bias binding all the way along. And then when we get to this little point, so we'll stitch it along and then we'll fold it in and just stitch over that so it kind of follows that seam line. It just kind of creates a neat little tuck there and holds everything in place. So cut it away, fold it in, and then stitch a little triangle there. All right, so the little keyhole at the back is all done, and it's sitting quite nice and flat from this side. Needs a little bit of a press, but that's going to sit nice and flat against the back. Now I'm going to finish the armhole and the neckline just with a bit of bias. So I lay the bias on top, I stitch 5mm in, and then I fold this onto the inside. So I lay the bias on the right side of the fabric and fold it in. This is probably one of my favorite ways to finish necklines and armholes because it's just really neat. And yeah, I'm not going to show you too much because this is already fraying so much because of just the type of fabric it is, and too much extra handling will fray, but it's a pretty simple technique, and it really utilizes the folds of the bias. Right, so the hem is at the top all done. So we've got lovely armholes and neckline. Needs a little bit of a press, but I will do that in a minute. And then what we can do for the top here is either add a hook and eye or a button and a little loop, whatever takes your fancy. For the bottom here, what I usually do is just overlock and turn it up, but I'm going to actually utilize this fraying fabric and put a strip of ribbon and stitch that down. So the ribbon I'm using is this really nice purple velvet. I just thought it's a nice little wintry look. So I'm probably going to place it about 1.5 to 2 centimeters from the bottom and just stitch it along both of those edges. And then that means this will continue to fray. I'll cut any really long strands like that, and it won't go any further than where I've stitched. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we're almost done. Alright, so I added that velvet trim on the bottom. I'm really happy with how that looks, and I'll just let this kind of continue to fray naturally. It will just create a nice little finish to it, and makes it a little bit more casual in my opinion as well. I still haven't added the button, but I have picked it out, so I will just stitch that onto the back and make a little chain. But yeah, that is the yo-yo top. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'll put it on now and I'll put some footage of me wearing it. Like I said, it's really one of my favorites for kind of between seasons, because I can wear it with layers, put a turtleneck underneath, or I can just wear it as is. I've made a few for summer. I made like a longer dress version one as well, just by lengthening the body. And yeah, it's kind of like a really easy throw on shape, designed just to be super simple, kind of shell top. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, leave a comment of what you want to see next. I'm going to continue making up all of the patterns I have, as I resize them all across different sizes. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.